One of the hardest things was to shoot the film in the Egyptian streets. Any Egyptian would tell you that what shooting action scenes in the streets of Cairo is suicidal, because people might mistake you, especially in a film like this, when the camera is inside the car. They might mistake what they see into real protest, and they might get involved.
Thank you both so much for the film. I'm going to ask a few questions, then throw it open to you guys. But just to begin, can you tell us a little bit about where the idea started? Obviously, with 5 years looking back, when did the...
Sure. A lot of people, and I was one of them, were part of the Egyptian revolution and what happened in the past 5 years. So as just any artist, I wanted to express what's going on in my mind in the past, to express what the experience that we felt in the past couple of years. And it was very hard to just like pick a moment. So it took me almost 3 years until my brother Khaled Diab, who is a writer, came up with this idea of sticking people in a closed place and shaking them to the core mentally and physically, and maybe push them to see beyond their differences. And I love the idea so much. And the best thing that I liked about the idea was now I can not only express my point of view, but everyone's point of view, or see the world through their eyes.
And talking about completely different points of views, the ending is quite... There's only a glimmer of hope, I suppose. And so what's the commentary on the different points of views and the way forwards, I suppose, that you see?
The ending is just, I think, depicts the feeling of about what I feel right now in Egypt, about the future of Egypt. There is hope, but it needs everyone to work together. But it's looking bleak. We have to be honest with ourselves. I can't create a future that is not there. I want to thank you all for being here, but I want to thank this guy, because Hifzi, to produce a film like this is a risk. Everyone who's Egyptian knows that making a film about anything political right now could be misunderstood, and he could have, like, his company could have stopped or something. And at some points, he's not going to talk about this, and he's going to be very diplomatic about it. But at some point, I think the risk was very close that something could happen to him or someone else.
Thank you, thank you. I have a 10-year visa to the UK, so I'm fine.
Can you talk a little bit about the release in Egypt? Because it was released a couple of...
Yeah, well, the film was released on July 27th, I think, and there was a lot of noise around the release, because we had a bit of a struggle with a lot of people were kind of campaigning against the film before they see it, and then the censorship was not easy. Luckily, we managed to release the film without cutting anything out, but I'm sure Mohammed will tell you there was a sentence at the beginning, which you've seen here. This sentence was kind of, it was written in a different way that made it, a little bit less balanced, because this was very balanced in my opinion. But the way it was written in Egypt to let it pass through the censorship was not as balanced. So we had to, so it was kind of like a small battle that we lost to win the war to release the film. But otherwise, I think it went really well, and the film was well received actually in Egypt.
And the screenings grew as well. So.
Yeah, it was quite a big success. 150,000 tickets in 4 weeks, or 6 weeks, something like that.
Amazing. Well, I'm sure you're keen to hear about a UK audience and what your perspectives were. So, are there any questions?
It's very simple. I saw the past 5 years from my point of view. You saw it from your point of view, and definitely I believe what happened to you, and it happens a lot. And you're talking about a specific thing, but ask anyone who's foreigner who saw the film. There are 50 people who are killed in the other car. That's very brutal. They just killed another guy without arresting him. Everything in the film, I think, killing is way more, even like tougher than that. But what is the film about? This film is about coexistence. This film is about coexistence. You needed to understand the monster that hurt you. How did he change? How did he become something like that? I bet if you went to school in Egypt, you had friends who became police officers, and I don't think they were created or born monsters. You needed to understand. By the way, the same accusation or the same thing I hear about the Islamists. I find a lot of people who are asking me, why did you portray them in a very human way, especially that this is maybe one of the few films in Arabic history that portray them as human beings. And I say the same thing. You need to understand them. This film is about understanding them. And you saw, it was very important for me to show the officer at the beginning as a human being, a normal person. And then when his friend, his superior dies, that's what changes him. And this is the bigger picture. For me, by the way, this film is not only about Egypt. It's about division everywhere. It doesn't matter to me, as when I was making this film, right or left or whatever. It's just like two people hating each other, two sides who hate each other, who are stuck in this place. We didn't get into a single political discussion in the film, because that's not what the film is about. It's about those things. And at the end, I'm not saying what you said is wrong. I'm just telling you, and I'm encouraging everyone who has a different point of view, he has to make something about it, talk about it, express it in his own way. You have to be a director. You look like you have a very vivid point of view. And I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong, but that's why everyone should direct. Everyone has his own point of view of things. And what you said isn't wrong. It's just different than how I saw things. I thought those people hate each other so much that it needs a miracle to push them to forget for moments, just brief moments in the film, that they can live together. You know, that's why there were so many intense moments and shaking them so much in order to achieve them.
Well, I mean, this is obviously a question for Mohammed, but the director. But I mean, look, I mean, the revolution isn't going very well in Egypt right now. It's not. So, so obviously, it's. I think I've always said since 2011 until today, I always say it's a work in progress, and I think that right now it's taking a really sour turn, although I have to say that there's also positive things. So, I mean, nothing is absolute, and I think this film is not absolute in its point of view. I think it's also, you see moments of hope in their interaction as human beings. When these supposedly enemies are able to laugh, you know, sing and enjoy these moments together, that is hope in a way, in my opinion. So it may not have ended very optimistically, but that doesn't mean that this is how it's going to be forever, I think.
I think all of us sometimes make the mistake of just freezing a moment and judging the world through it. So right now, it is bleak. It looks bleak, but if we did the same thing, if we looked at the French Revolution, 10 years after it, it was bleak. 20 years, it was bleak. 30 years, it was bleak. But now we still say it was a successful revolution. They brought the dictator 3 times. So the film is about a moment that we think things are not going well, and we're trying to tell people this is not the right direction. Hopefully, at the end is not now. The end is not after 10 years. The end is not after 50 years. I don't know when things are going to correct themselves, but I'm positive when people can see past their differences, things are going to get positive eventually. No. I hate it, and from day one I said I have nothing to do with it. I told him, go take the credit for it. I have nothing to do with it. It says something along the line, I swear I can't remember it exactly, but it says something along the lines that this is a revolution at that time, and that the Muslim Brotherhood are they are responsible of everything that happened then. But to me, the film is not about that, and I didn't want to go to any conversation that took me away from the real message of the film. The humor is just part of the Egyptian character, I think. They would crack a joke in a funeral. That's... Oh. So many Egyptians? I didn't know. Wow. Lebanese too? Definitely. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We're not funny. Egyptians are not funny. A technical question. I can't believe it. I can't believe, because we actually, it's all about, when you make a topical film, there's no talk about technique, so thank God. Thank you, thank you. I'm leaving now, thank you so much. First of all, the hardest thing was to get someone to produce this film. So I got 2 suicidal people, 3. Who?
Well, we had our French co-producer, and then Moise.
He wasn't as suicidal as you 2 guys.
Yeah, but he was.
I love him, but he's not as suicidal as you guys. Because during the crazy times when the film was attacked, they smeared their image, and Mu'azzez Masoud for sure, the guy who like believed in the film the first, even before myself, and Hifzi. So that was impossible. The second thing was to get a cast. To get a cast in a film like this, it was hard. Sometimes I sent the film to actors who got scared. Yes. We wrote the script, me and my brother, and then sent the script to people. It was very hard to cast people. And sometimes I didn't even send it to certain people because I knew their political views. I didn't want people who agree with me, but I wanted people who believe in coexistence. We had the privilege that Hifzi built us a car, a replica of the car, a wooden replica of the car, a year before shooting the film. So we got to rehearse for a whole year, for 6 months, and that we turned it into a play. And it was a great thing to see the film so many times, and we changed it so many times. And we deleted characters, and we created new characters, and I tried like the technique that I'm gonna use as shooting the film. So I think that was very beneficial. And it gave all the actors, like, they knew their characters. And going, like, at the end, we were practicing so much because the shoot was so expensive. Every day we needed hundreds of extras. So, and that's why we shot the film only in 4 weeks, which was a suicide mission.
27 days.
27 days? No, for me it's 4 weeks, thank you. And one of the hardest things was to shoot the film in the Egyptian streets. Any Egyptian would tell you that what shooting action scenes in the streets of Cairo is suicidal, because people might mistake you, especially in a film like this, when the camera is inside the car. They might mistake what they see into real protest, and they might get involved. They might do something, and things get crazy and out of hand. And actually, we had one day when we shot the bridge scene, which needed days and days of preparation. We almost like prepared it like a flash mob. We showed up, and we knew that the moment that we're gonna shoot the first fireworks, the first one, hell is gonna break loose. And this is exactly what happened. The very first moment we did that, this was the biggest highway in Egypt. So it stopped. It was a breaking news. People turned around, they thought it's a real thing. The police swept the place. They got like, they came after maybe 20, 30 minutes. The neighborhood, the people from the neighborhood attacked us. One guy got stabbed. The line producer got kidnapped from the people in the neighborhood. So, but it was super crazy. But everyone, that's the best thing about picking people who believe in the project. Because my line producer, his car got wrecked, he got beaten up. I went to apologize to him, and he told me if it's the beginning of the day, I would have done it again. And that's why it was very hard to get people involved in the film. But everyone who was involved in the film was someone who was willing, I don't want to say die, but maybe lose like a limb or something for the film, maybe. What do you think? Can we make it into a play?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting idea. I don't think in our country a lot of people don't go see plays, like serious plays. You know, we have a tradition of theater, but it's not really vibrant anymore. Bring it here, yeah. Well, okay, that's a good idea. Yeah, a West End play.
By the way, I always
the musical.
I always, by the way, when I was writing the film, I knew it's gonna be turned into a play, and I'm sure it's gonna happen. I'm sure you're gonna have an offer from someone abroad, not in Egypt.
Well, I'd love it.
And we're gonna split the money.
You got a deal. Okay.
I'm gonna tell you, I have to say that every time I'm asked a question like this, I have to say, this is my point of view, that a lot of people should, and I definitely have a different point of view. So for me, yes, this is how I see Egypt. I see it trapped. I see it going in the wrong direction right now. And definitely I see it, I'm not completely optimistic. I'm saying there is a hope, but the odds are against us. In the film, it's obvious. And it's so ironic that they all tried to get out of the car at the beginning. And the end of the film, they all fight to stay together. And part of it is how everyone who sees the other as the enemy, who doesn't want to change their mind about people, feeling that they're with them is a trap for them. So, but eventually, to fight madness, the mobs, at the end, they have to stay together. They have to accept the idea that they hated at the beginning, getting out of the car. Definitely, the mob is a crazy thing. I remember someone told me, like, he's a Muslim Brotherhood, a very old guy. He told me he used to go in a communist demonstrations, and he used to go and say La ilaha illallah, something like that, like God, something very religious. But he goes in front of the mob and says it, and they say it, just they follow. And he told me he did that so many times. What I mean is the mob are crazy, and the ironic thing is, and this is one of the best things I like about the film, is what they are afraid of at the end of the film are actually themselves at the beginning of the film. They were the mob. They were the protesters. And through the journey, they should have, and I hope they did, learn something that made them a little different than the people outside, which is them a couple of hours ago. So, and I don't exclude myself. I could have, during the madness, anyone can be mad. And you see this all through the world. It's not Egypt. You see what's happening in the US, what's happening here, what's happening. Division is just like sweeping the world, unfortunately. So, do you want to add something about this?
Thank you. Oh, it's great.
Perfect.
Yeah, completely agree with you.
Thank you.
Really, I do, I swear.
And anything about the accent? Anything about the accent?
No, the accent's great. Thank you. Thanks a lot for coming, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Wow. Best guy.